Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am delighted to have you here again with me for yet another important video. It is now evident to me that some things that are deeply important to mention are being completely overlooked in the world. It seems like we are losing the grip on some things that we should never ever lose the sight of. Let me give you a completely new perception of things, and please, at least, give me a chance to open your mind. Let's go back in time for this one, perhaps way back in time. Let's go from all the places to the Garden of Eden, and let's try to see the Genesis story with new lenses. Let us try to remove what we already have been taught since we were born, and let's try to give it another chance. Many of us, especially if raised Catholic like me, have been taught that we are all born with the original sin. The sin going back to the Eve taking the apple from the serpent. But was this really a sin? Did you ever sat down and had some quiet time with this thought? What did Eve do wrong apart from disobeying God? In Genesis 3, the serpent tells Eve, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, knowing good and evil." Did you ever really sit with this sentence? Did the serpent lie? This statement is profound and often overlooked, because basically, the serpent didn't lie. After eating the fruit, Adam and Eve really didn't die. Instead, their eyes were open, as the serpent mentioned. They became self-aware, conscious, capable of choice, reflection, and moral reasoning. They realized they were naked and decided to cover their body. If we observe this from an agnostic standpoint, this moment was not a fall, but merely an initiation. In texts like the Secret Book of John, a central Gnostic gospel, the God of the Old Testament is not the ultimate God, but a false creator, a demiurge. He is ignorant, jealous, and seeks to keep humanity blind and subservient. I've observed this myself in the Old Testament. When I was a child, I used to read through it because I was, as mentioned, raised Catholic, and I found God more of a scary character than something deeply loving and caring for humans. If we view things this way, the serpent represents Sophia, or the divine wisdom, acting through a messenger to awaken Adam and Eve to their true divine origin. Now, I know this is controversial, because this flips the entire narrative. The so-called sin was actually an act of liberation. Mainstream interpretations often glorify Eden as a paradise of peace and harmony, but in the Gnostic view, Eden was a prison of ignorance, a gilded cage. Adam and Eve were innocent, yes, but they were also unaware. Like children in the nursery, they lived in obedience, but not freedom. They had no awareness. This is not the peak of human evolution. This is not the place or state of mind humanity would ever freely choose to be in. How can we even think that the urge to evolve and to become better can be something like sin? Freedom requires choice, and choice requires awareness. You cannot choose good or evil unless you first know what both are. The act of eating from the tree of knowledge symbolizes a leap into consciousness, a dangerous, painful, but necessary step towards spiritual maturity. Gnostic teachings consistently affirm that knowledge, or gnosis, is the path to salvation, not blind obedience. The serpent, far from being a devil, becomes a symbol of transformation. Carl Jung, deeply influenced by Gnostic thought, saw the fall as a mythological integration of its shadow and unconscious content. It was an expression of individuation, the process in which the self becomes whole. In this light, Eden represents the pre-ego state, a womb-like innocence. The fruit, like the apple in fairy tales, brings knowledge, but also suffering. The moment Adam and Eve became aware of themselves, they became capable of reflection, shame, and eventually, wisdom. They became responsible. They became adult. The serpent becomes not a villain, but the midwife of the human soul. Jung wrote, "The serpent is the earthly wisdom, the connective energy between instinct and spirit. In myths, it is often the source of transformation." Now, if you have a dream book, if you dream of a serpent, it means transformation. Thus, the serpent is not a symbol of evil, but of evolutionary necessity, the beginning of the human journey. Without the serpent's intervention, humanity would have remained in a state of obedient ignorance. No art, no philosophy, no love freely chosen. The ability to choose, to fall, to suffer, to learn. It is the essence of being human. The Gnostics saw the material world not as evil, but as a testing ground, a place to awaken to experience. In their cosmology, we are a divine sparks trapped in flesh, and gnosis is the way back to the divine fullness. Let me go back to the original thought. Freedom of choice. The most important thing a human can have. It's not just power, it is responsibility. It allows us to rise beyond the animal and become co-creators with the divine. Freedom of choice is our most important right. And now this is the very thing we need to defend with all our might. Freedom to express ourselves, even if we are wrong, and be ready to learn and evolve from our mistakes. Knowledge is everything. Same as Prometheus stole the fire from gods to advance humankind, Eve took a bite from the fruit of knowledge. Humans are not destined for mediocrity and obedience, but for a constant strive for perfection. Do not believe those who tell you that you would be happy in the paradise of ignorance. How could you ever differentiate happiness from misery? We are destined for more. We cannot go back. We need to go forward. Whoever tells you that freedom of choice is a burden, tell them to think again. You are the sum of your decisions. Where you are, it is thanks to your decisions, to your freedom of thought, to your freedom of mind, the freedom to make decisions. And if you're not happy where you are, you can change it. This is the power of freedom of choice. We can never think that we would be happy otherwise. Yes, we might experience some misery, but misery is good. If you're ever in pain, if you're miserable, it tells you something. It tells you what you need to change in order to be happy. I will leave you with this thought. Freedom of choice is our most important right, and we cannot afford to lose it. It was a gift, not a sin. Let me know what you think about this. I know this might be a bit controversial, but I still want to go ahead with it. And if you like this video, please give me a like. And if you like the channel, please do subscribe to it. And I will keep on spreading my truth, no matter how controversial it is. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.